You know, it's no surprise that we're living in very uncertain times right now due to the impact of COVID-19. So whether you are newly unemployed and looking for a new job or wanting a change in your own career, you've come to the right place. Welcome to How to Get a Job Now from Glassdoor. My name is Scott, and I'm a job search expert here at Glassdoor and your host for today's virtual event. I'm thankful that you've decided to join us today because our intention today is to help you learn more about how to master your job search during these tough times and help you eventually get hired too. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll cover what you need to know about how to find a job during the COVID-19 crisis, how to get the attention from employers still hiring around the country, and much more. Plus, recruiters at Amazon and Zapier will join us to share what they are looking for in candidates right now, which jobs they are currently hiring for, and how you can stand out as you apply to these jobs. We hope you walk away with advice you can put into practice tomorrow and a boost of confidence to help you find and land that new job. Now, if you're wondering why I'm here to talk with you today, well, it's because I've been through having to find a job myself during very tough economic times. More than 10 years ago, I had to look for a job during the Great Recession. And no, it definitely is not the same thing as today, but it took effort. I had to keep trying, and I found some tips that most people didn't talk about back then that actually really helped me get hired myself, right when I needed it the most. So I say that because I hope some of my own story can help today. So with that, let's get started. There are really 5 tips that I want to share with you on what you can do to put yourself in the best position to find a job and get hired. Okay, so the first step, tip number 1, is assessing your skills. This includes what do you like to do, what are you good at, and what skills should you perhaps brush up on or get better at. So when you assess your skills, people always ask me, how exactly do I do this? And our answer is do it the old-fashioned way, whether on a piece of paper at home or perhaps in the notes section of your phone. On the left-hand side, put what you like doing, what you're good at doing, and on the right-hand side, put in skills that are areas for development or improvement. Then look at the left side, what you like doing, what you're good at doing, and this is going to be a guide for you to help determine what type of jobs you go for. By doing so, you can actually really clearly see the types of skills you like, what you're good at, and guess what? Most employers actually want people using their strengths as often as possible. So it's going to help guide you. The next step, tip number 2, is doing your research. Research on jobs and companies. Let's look at jobs first. I really like the idea of first starting with a good old-fashioned job search for job titles you know that you could be qualified for. So for instance, whether you don't have a job right now or you want a new job, use a job title that you know of or one that is similar to your current job title. And in the city that you live or you want to live, start searching on job sites, just like Glassdoor, and see what's out there. What is available right now? This is going to give you at least some indication of quantity, quality of jobs, and so on. The next part, and this is a little trickier, but I know you can do it, is searching for your skills. On some job search engines, you can actually put in skills and get related job titles that you may not even know. There's certain jobs out there that match your skills, and they'll show you those jobs. I always like this example. I have some friends here who are journalists, and a lot of them don't know of jobs other than journalist or reporter that they're actually qualified for. But really, their strongest skill set is storytelling, writing, editing, communicating. So for people like that, again, for example, they'd be qualified for jobs like content creator, editing, writer, jobs like that, and in some cases even earn more money than their current job. So be open, do your research, and also a lot of Google searching for what other jobs am I qualified for, such as, and then fill in the blank. Again, it's just going to give you some added data points to search for jobs that could be open, but you don't know you're actually qualified for them. Okay, the next part of research is companies. So you want to find out which companies, especially at a hard time like this, are actually hiring. Unfortunately, many companies are on hiring pauses or freezes. And so that could prevent you in terms of quantity of companies at your disposal. However, like I said, there's a lot of companies right now that are hiring now. On Glassdoor, for instance, we recently launched some features where you can go to our COVID-19 job search hub and see which companies are hiring now, and also which jobs and companies are having hiring surges. And many other job sites are doing this too. The goal is to find out who's hiring, and if they're hiring for jobs you're qualified for, go after them. Tip number 3 is refining your resume. We get a lot of questions about how do you do an outstanding resume. So you figure out your skills, you identify what jobs you're going for. The next step is sending in your resume. One thing that we strongly recommend, especially during a time like this, when you have more people unemployed, so perhaps in some cases there could be more competition for the job you're going for, you really want to take that into account and put your best foot forward. So include a unique professional summary at the top of your resume. And remember, don't think about what you want in a job or what you've done in the past for this professional summary. Look at what the company is trying to do that you're applying to the job at. What challenge does this role face? And in your professional summary, you want to kind of highlight or nudge how you can be, how you can help fill the gap, how you can solve the company's problem for the role that they're hiring for. So before you even craft your professional summary, again, look at the job, and every professional summary on every single resume should be slightly different. The next step is in your resume, quantify successes. I know that sometimes this seems easier if you're in tech or professional services, but every single industry and role, you can quantify your successes, and managers really like this. So again, if you're in retail right now or in hospitality and you're having a tough time in the job market, think about how many customers you serve each day. How many people have you greeted or supported or done X, Y, or Z in your job, and put numbers to it to show that hiring manager how awesome you can be. And even if you don't have exact numbers, approximations are okay. The next thing to remember is your resume is it should act in part as a tease to the hiring manager for them to want to pick up the phone or the Zoom in this case and contact you for more information. So if you've been in the job market for a while, we recommend highlighting your resume to the past 10 years of your career. If you did an internship 14 years ago and you just love that internship so much, I don't know, you might want to think twice about including it. Really highlight the most relevant career successes and milestones over the past decade. And there's 2 ways you can do your resume. Chronological is one way. Another way is looking at highlighting all of your successes near the top and then highlighting the employers and roles you've worked at near the bottom. The main thing, though, is highlight your successes and your skills and your achievements relevant to that specific job you're applying for. Okay, tip number 4 is apply, but then reach out. Okay, so we want you to respect the application process, and recruiters and managers like this. They like to track the systems, as you might imagine. So apply for the job formally, hit the button and hit apply. However, after that, you want to go a little bit further, especially this day and age, to try and get the attention of anyone who might want to help you get noticed or hired, especially if you think you're a really good fit for the role. And people these days are very empathetic. We're really seeing people reaching out and wanting to help people get hired these days because of what's going on. So we recommend searching your social media profiles to identify who the recruiting manager could be and those who work on the team you're applying to work for. You can reach out over social media, but in addition, we do recommend getting in touch with people who could help you get noticed via good old-fashioned email as well. So with some quick Google searching or sleuthing the company on their profile online, you can probably figure out the email address pattern at a company. And guess what? In the majority of cases, it does seem to be first name dot last name at company.com or first initial last name at company.com. We recommend emailing both, and if you get a bounce back by one, well, guess what? Good news. The other one has gone through. So again, just an added way to get in touch with someone who could help you, but the key here is not flooding people's inboxes It's approaching this very strategically and only going to a few people at first who are probably very relevant to this team or perhaps the search process. So you do want to be careful. Tip number 5, network, but virtually these days. Identify who you know. Who do you know in your life? You have friends, family, former classmates who could help you. As we mentioned, a lot of people want to help these days, and so ask for help. The next step is looking at people who you may not even know. So again, by searching for roles, companies, and other details like that online, you're going to surface people who are likely on the team that you're applying to. And see if you have any connections or people that you know in common. Reach out to them. And again, people are very willing to help and empathetic these days. And finally, ask for help online. Sign up for any virtual events. A lot of them are free right now that have to do with your profession, your industry online, and that's a great way to network with people without going outside of your own home during the COVID-19 crisis. So again, ask for help. People are willing to help these days. So with that, it's actually time now to turn directly to recruiters at top companies with open jobs all around the country. So joining me now is Brian Riley, Head of Recruiting Programs, Strategy, and Talent Channel Development for HQ2 at Amazon, and Erica Clicks, Recruiting Lead at Zapier. Erica and Brian, thank you so much for joining us today, taking time out of your busy schedule. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Let's just kick things off with quick intros. Brian, let's start with you and then pass to Erica.
Hi, yeah, as you said, Scott, my name is Brian Riley. I lead several talent acquisition functions on behalf of Amazon's HQ2. But the primary thing that I'm thinking about day to day is just how we attract and hire top talent into Amazon, not just at HQ2, but globally. And then also how we go out and develop talent channels such as military hiring or programs that we've developed internally, such as our apprenticeship program, and how to continue to develop and grow those hiring channels that we have for the organization.
Yeah, and I'm Erica Clicks. I am a lead recruiter at Zapier. We are a 100% remote company, software as a service company with, I was going to say offices, but we don't have offices, with people all around the world in 28 U.S. states and 35 countries around the world.
Awesome. Thank you both. Brian, let's start with you. So what do you do as part of the recruiting team at Amazon? And specifically, what is unique about working at Amazon and especially Amazon these days? I bet you guys are very busy.
Yeah, well, so as I mentioned earlier, as we've entered Arlington, Virginia, which is where our second headquarters at Amazon in the U.S. here is based, what I've really been focused on doing is thinking about how we enable, because we have recruiting teams from across all lines of business and who are based in various geographies throughout North America, really to try and think about how do we run the recruiting process in a world-class way from end to end, and working across those internal talent acquisition teams that we have across Amazon to help enable those teams to recruit here in Arlington successfully. So that's a little bit about what's unique and specific to my role. In terms of Amazon's uniqueness, I think I've been with Amazon for about 5.5 years, and I think the one thing about our culture, I'll talk quite a bit probably about our leadership principles, as they're what really drives a lot of our day-to-day. But we embrace a mentality around how we run Amazon, which is called day one culture or day one mentality. And it's really a startup way of thinking that forces us to keep ourselves nimble and pushes us to make smart and fast decisions on behalf of our customers. Customer obsession is one of our leadership principles, and it's one of the guiding principles that leads how we make a lot of decisions as a company.
Awesome. And Erica, can you please share a little bit more about Zapier and what is special about working there and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So we are an automation company. We help people connect the apps that they're already using in their work lives. So apps like the Google Suite and HubSpot and Trello, Marketo, pretty much anyone who uses apps at work can use Zapier in some way. We have 2,000 of them, 2,000 apps on our platform today. But we do a lot of things pretty uniquely. Being 100% remote from the very beginning means that we really have to think about how we communicate, how we work together, how we collaborate. So we put a lot of thought and a lot of care into how we connect every day to make sure that we are, focused on the work, focused on the mission, which is to democratize automation, bring automation to everyone, and to how to continue to make our product better. What I do, so I've been at Zapier for about 2 years, and I have recruited for pretty much every department here at the company at some point in time. But today I lead our support recruiting efforts as well as our employment brand, and I work a lot with our diversity initiatives.
Awesome. Brian, back to you. I know our objective here is really to help people, find jobs and get hired if we can. And Amazon right now has upwards of 30,000 open jobs, I believe. Can you share more about the range of jobs Amazon is hiring for right now? Are there new types of roles or skills that Amazon is especially hiring for, given the impact of COVID?
Yeah, so one of the things that's really unique about Amazon is there are so many different, we think of ourselves as a collection of startups, and so there are a lot of really different and unique businesses that run across our company. And because of that, we're continuing to hire for a broad range of roles. Certainly in our hourly employee employee populations, like our customer fulfillment and delivery networks. We actually announced plans in March and April and have actually completed those plans to hire 175,000 new people in our delivery and fulfillment networks. And that's just been due to increased demand on our delivery and fulfillment center infrastructure. And so we're really excited about that bolster in hiring that we've seen recently, and excited to welcome all those new employees to Amazon. In addition to that, however, as we look out across sort of the broader landscape, we're continuing to hire both corporate and technical employees, across a range of businesses, including shopping, entertainment, devices, Alexa, and then of course the AWS, our cloud computing business as well.
Awesome, Brian. That is so cool because there's so many roles, diverse teams, as you mentioned, all over the country. And Erica, your company, a little smaller than Amazon, but tell us about what roles you're hiring for. And again, the unique thing at your company is you could work anywhere and be qualified.
Yeah. We're a little bit smaller than Amazon. Just over 300 people today. But yeah, so right now we are hiring, we're really focusing hiring right now. So we have hiring in our marketing team. We have roles open for a director of content marketing, a manager of partner marketing right now. We may have a few more coming down the pipeline, and as well as our engineering team. And we have roles on the engineering team really specifically focused on site reliability engineering and data engineering today.
Awesome. And, Brian, Brian and Erica, let's go a little more tactical now to really help these job seekers out there. Brian, how should job seekers really approach applying to jobs at Amazon right now? What advice do you have to help them stand out, especially with so many people in the job search pool right now? How can they stand out to you or other recruiters at Amazon?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there are so many jobs posted from Amazon, quite frankly. I do think, Scott, you alluded to doing research earlier, and I think that's really important here as well. Obviously, filtering a set of jobs down, we've got a number of criteria on our careers page that you can filter our jobs down by. And so I think that's the first thing, is really to filter in the criteria that are most interesting to you, whether it's the job function, the job location, some of those other things. The other piece that I think is really important, so there's a lot of good information out there, not just on our careers page, but we have Amazon's Day One blog, and there's some other social media channel and newsroom channels that we post a lot about our culture. But I think the other piece is to really research and learn our culture and the way that we work. I mentioned our leadership principles earlier, and they're really sort of central to the way that we work at Amazon. But to answer your question, I think once you've done that research and you've sort of understood the leadership principles, you understand the jobs that are of interest to you and what those jobs require, then I think the applicant really needs to focus in on, okay, where have I applied these leadership principles over the course of my career, and how can I highlight that in my resume? Or what is this job requiring, and how can I highlight those pieces of, relevant bodies of work that I performed specific to this job. I think, although we see folks will use the same resume oftentimes for different jobs, I think it's really important to highlight the things that you bring to the table that are specific to a job or a company that you think you really bring that will benefit that company.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. So customize is key.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And Erica, such an interesting thing, many roles have actually gone 100% virtual over the past couple months. But your company, even before COVID-19, has already been doing this. So is there any difference between applying to a company virtually versus being able to meet with them in person?
In many ways, no. But there's a couple key ways that I think, yes. Really, to play off of what Brian just said, this idea of customizing. So remote work environments require trust. You're not sitting next to each other every day, seeing what's going on, building that rapport face to face. So you have to kind of find ways to build that trust in this online environment. So, for example, if you're looking at a job description and that's a job that you really want at a company you're really interested in, but you are not a 100% fit for that job. Say you are like an 80% fit for that job. That's okay. We would absolutely encourage you to apply. But as somebody who's reviewing applications, I want to see that 80% fit is a really strong fit. I want to see why you're a fit. I want to see where you've been successful in the past with really specifics, stuff like data that you mentioned in your tips earlier, that can help ground that experience and say, okay, I can imagine this person doing this job and being successful at this job. That other 20% that maybe you aren't a fit for, you probably have relevant skills that could be applied. They might not be exact skills, but they are related in some way. So really helping to paint that picture in the application process, whether it's in a resume, in a cover letter. We at Zapier, we don't take resumes. We actually have an application process where there's little essays. We want to see that in your writing. And I think it's really important to take the care and invest the time into showing the person who's actually reviewing these that you thought about this job and you thought about actually doing this job.
Awesome. Erica, I think that's really helpful because really what you just outlined was what you're looking for when reviewing a candidate's application, if you will. So that's really helpful to know. Brian, one of the biggest pain points we still hear from job seekers today is this idea of the resume black hole. So at Amazon, could you shed light from the inside on what happens to a candidate's application once they hit that apply button? What do you guys do to make sure that applications don't get lost?
Yeah, and it's a really interesting question because, as you mentioned earlier, we're hiring at scale with over 30,000 roles open globally. That can be a big challenge. Maybe a more boring answer but true one to this is we have a large recruiting function at Amazon. One of our company leadership principles is to hire and develop the best, and so this is really important to our company and our culture, and making sure that there aren't holes in our process so that we are seeing every candidate that comes through and applies. And so we've built large recruiting teams to ensure that recruiters are working on it still on a recruiter-to-recruiter basis, working on a manageable set of roles, that they're able to review and identify applicants for specific roles that are fits to the jobs that they're working on. And in addition to that, we've got some really powerful processes internally that help us to identify talent or candidates for other roles across the organization as well, so that if we get applicants who might not be a fit for the role that they've applied to, but might be a fit for, sort of in line with what Erica said, maybe they've got the 70% required, but there's another role that's got 80 or 90 percent of what they bring to the table. We try to use our large recruiting teams to move people across and have them considered for other opportunities across the organization as it makes sense as well.
That's awesome, Brian. Thank you. So
Sure.
Maybe if plan A doesn't work, plan B could work.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. And, Erica, going back to you here, again, with everything going on in the world right now, so many of these interviews and presentations too are now being done virtually. So because you've already been doing this for years, actually, how should candidates approach doing virtual interviews? What advice do you have to help them prepare and actually pull off a great virtual interview?
Yeah, I mean, always turn on the video. If you're given the option of voice only or video, use the video. It's a great way to help build that connection, build that trust that I was talking about earlier. The other thing I would say is, and I think it's probably true for every interview, but I think it's particularly true in a virtual interview, to take that 30 seconds to ask your interviewer how their day is going, to build that rapport early. If they've asked a really interesting or insightful question, once you've answered, turn it around, ask them how they handled that thing that they're asking about. Really show interest, show that you're engaged. You've noticed I'm kind of sitting forward. I'm trying to come up to the screen. I'm trying to connect with you. I think that's a really important part of being invested in the interview process is showing your attention. Always look at the little green button. Try not to look at your own face or at the face in the screen. These are little things that you might not think make a big difference, but our human brains are are very simple and take in these signals, so they can be really helpful in actually just establishing that rapport to help build that trust, to be able to help show someone that you are ready for this job.
Awesome, thank you. And again, so many people will be new to this virtual interviewing, so I think to help make all the difference, that really helps. All right, for both of you, I'd love to know this one. What are the common maybe mistakes you see when people, some common mistakes they make when applying for a job or when sending you a resume? What are some things people should avoid, basically?
Erica, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think definitely the idea of the bulk resume blast is a bad one. We were talking about before. When you're applying for a job, it's about the company. How can you help the company? Why are you suited to help the company? I see a lot of applications that are very me-centric. It's not that we don't care about you. We do care about you, but we're looking through a lot of resumes, a lot of applications. We want to see what you are going to add to the company. Those would be the big things that come to mind right away.
Yeah, and I think I 100% agree. Scott, I think you made another point earlier, but I was thinking about this beforehand too. I just think being really specific and quantifying impact is so critical when you're reading a resume. When I see, you see things like help prepare quarterly financial statements or sold to commercial clients and exceeded quota, but understanding what that means and with what frequency and what impact. So quantifying that is a way to sort of powerfully communicate, hey, here's what I did here and what I might bring to your organization, even though you're not saying that overtly. It helps to translate what you've done into what you could contribute at an employer you're seeking a role with.
Gotcha. That's really helpful, you guys. Thank you. And, another question for both of you. So, we're living in these kind of crazy, unprecedented times. We keep hearing those buzzwords too. What is, though, your top piece of advice right now for anyone looking for a new job?
So, for this, I would say to the extent that you can be, I would say to be as patient as you can. I think that taking a role or taking an opportunity because it's the first thing available and you feel urgency or panic to take on a role. Again, circumstances permitting, I don't think that's a great way to go about sort of finding your next career. And so I think, again, if circumstances allow candidates to be patient, I think it's good to be patient and to be as calm as you can as you're seeking jobs. Because I think that's what will continue to set individuals up for either development in the career or track that they're on, as well as being happy in the role and in the function that they're going to be taking on at a new employer.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that for sure. I would also kind of go back to one of your tips about following up. Great, we got an application. We have at Zapier, we have a 7-day promise to get back to every applicant. Sometimes that means hold off, we're not there yet. Most of the time, we'll be able to get some sort of an answer to you, and yes, we'd like to interview. But in general, we we have a lot of stuff going on. This COVID-19 era has brought about a lot of changes within the company, and so there's lots of moving parts. We're not necessarily always sure exactly what's happening at any point in time, and that tends to slow us down and get us distracted. And so follow up, be patient with us. We'll do our best to get you answers. We want to help, but sometimes we need a little bit of a reminder. So that would be my advice.
I love that advice from both of you. Right now, at times, there's still a lot that is similar in applying to a job, but there's also a lot of nuances. So that was really helpful for what could apply right now. Okay, you guys. So as you know, here at Glassdoor, we've been really keeping a pulse on what job seekers have top of mind in terms of their job search during these challenging COVID times. So now I'm going to ask you a few more rapid fire questions in the few remaining minutes that job seekers really want to know the most right now. So this next question, we'll have, let's go with Brian, then Erica. Here's the question. Is it worth applying for a job now, or should I wait until the job market picks up?
If it's the right role, apply now.
Yeah, we're hiring now. If the role is open, we need you. So apply now.
All right, pretty simple. Okay, let's start with you, Erica, on this next one. If you had to look for a new job right now, where would you start?
Ooh, I feel like this is kind of cheating. I am a recruiter, so I would probably go to my recruiter network. But definitely my network, for sure.
Yeah, I would say my network as well. Absolutely. I think it's a good way to find roles and opportunities through people who you know and who know you. And is it okay for me to say I'd look at Amazon.jobs as well? Or
Nope.
That's if I were looking and I weren't here, I would of course look at Amazon.jobs as well.
If you want to work there and like working there, Brian, you should look there. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So this next one, back to you, Brian, first. Is it worth submitting a cover letter, guys, even if it's not required?
We don't require cover letters. I think you should think about what the cover letter adds for the role you're applying to, meaning each job and each team are different. If there's content in your cover letter that you think will elevate the viability of your profile or your background or your application, then yes. But at Amazon, it's not a requirement, and I would sort of look at what it adds to what you're already using to apply and to determine if it gives you something incremental as you're seeking to pursue a job.
Yeah, so interesting because we don't take resumes, so we also don't take cover letters, but I have taken an informal poll on this question in the past from my recruiter friends. Literally, it's split down the middle. Half say no cover letter, don't bother. Other half say yes, absolutely, will not get a job without one. I would probably lean toward including it as opposed to not, because if you find one of those recruiters or one of those people who's reviewing who does care, you have it. If not, they might not read it. It's very true. They might focus right on the resume stuff, but can't hurt.
All right, and final question for both of you. Brian, let's start with you. Should I bother negotiating my salary if I get a job offer right now? Why or why not?
Yeah, again, this is another one that I think it depends. I mean, I think that number one, it depends on sort of the value of the experience that you're bringing relative to the role. And what sort of compensation the role that's being offered has. And so thinking about those two things together and deciding on where you're at with regard to both, and then whether or not it makes sense to negotiate is appropriate. But I think it's a tough one. There's not a black and white answer. And so I think you have to weigh those factors and to determine if you think that what is being offered is fair to you as the potential employee.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say if you get an offer, to do your research, use Glassdoor, use other tools. If it aligns with what the market is saying, take it. Take the offer. If it is a solid offer and it fits your background. If it's not, what the market's saying you should deserve. Just because we're in strange times doesn't mean that you should really take a cut that you might not need to take. So I would say do the research. If the research says that you should get that there might be room to negotiate, you should negotiate. Not, don't.
All right. Well, Erica, I couldn't agree with you more. Also, Brian, I think that last one, money, salaries, how it affects our livelihoods is really important these days. And I think research is key in that. Also determining, kind of your level of risk and comfort is also a key to that. So with that, you guys, just some very amazing tips and insights. Brian and Erica, thank you so much for being with us today and taking time out of your busy schedules. And to everyone watching, thank you. Thank you so much for joining today. We truly help you learn something new and that you feel better prepared to find the right job for you during these tough times. And don't forget, of course, Glassdoor is here to help you in your job search going forward. We have millions of insights on jobs and companies, the latest job listings, salary information, company reviews, and so much more to help you get hired and feel good in your new job. We hope to see you on Glassdoor, and thank you again.